Greetings everyone, peace to you all. Welcome to another episode of Praiseworthy Reviews, where we go through video games to see if they are excellent and commendable. Today, we will be reviewing Hi-Fi Rush, the surprise hit from recently closed Tango Gameworks. As usual, we will be evaluating the game based on 5 criteria: fun factor, educational value, cultural value, spiritual value, and cost. For context, I have played some rhythm games like DDR in the past, and I have finished the game to the credits. So without further ado, let's jump in. Hi-Fi Rush is a fairly unique combination of beat-em-up and rhythm games. Players play as Chai, a young man with a disabled right arm who ends up with a robotic prosthetic and an embedded music player that causes him to experience synesthesia. There's a little bit of exploration, but the core gameplay mechanics involve platforming, combat, and mini-game-like QTEs. The platforming is generally light and is more about hiding secrets and exploration than challenging the player. Chai needs to double jump, dash, and hook his way across different platforms to the beat. Occasionally, the game gives the player some different platforming by switching the camera to 2D. While this is not especially challenging, it does create some variety. In later stages, some of the platforming is timed and is more challenging, but overall is not too demanding. As a beat-em-up, combat is an important element. The game features different skills, often activated by light and heavy attack combos. My favorite was the giant guitar spin attack. Chai can also perform special attacks when his gauge is full, but to me the special attacks were not that impactful. I mainly used the healing one. Calling in teammates for assists were more powerful and often more important aspects in complex encounters. The most interesting aspect of combat is how it is rhythm-based. Many attacks do more damage when you press buttons on beat, and the animations of the attacks themselves always land on the beat. There are a variety of enemies, none too difficult on their own, but when attacking together can be overwhelming. Combat is neither calculated and tactical nor frenetic and button mashing. Instead, combat often feels quite rhythmic in the midst of chaos. Platforming in combat is broken up by dodging and rhythmic parrying sequences. Chai is often required to dodge different obstacles during high-speed chases or security elements. Other times, he is required to perform rhythmic sequences to parry special enemy attacks or to unlock special chests. Dashing on the beat allows you to immediately perform an extra dash, up to 3 times. The pacing of the game generally feels pretty good, with a wide variety of different experiences, but I do have a few qualms. Some areas or enemies can get a little repetitive, with some sections or encounters being just a little too long, and one level of the game was clearly cut, with an obvious Xenogears reference to hint at the cut content. Overall, I'm going to give Hi-Fi Rush 4 stars for fun factor. There are some things of educational value in the game. Factually, for those unfamiliar with the business world, there are certain corporate terms that can be picked up, like production, QA, and R&D. I also wish that the concept of synesthesia was more explained and more explored. Sadly, there is little in the way of musical knowledge being taught. The greatest educational value of the game is that of any rhythm-based game, that you can practice rhythms and develop motor skills. The value in practicing rhythms is quite high, particularly in the late game when it's not just attacking on beat for more damage and higher scores, but actually parroting sequences during combat. There are also difficulty settings for those less musically inclined that allows the sequences to be reduced in difficulty, increasing the usefulness in learning. I will admit that I am biased towards rhythm games being educationally valuable, but even so, I'm going to give Hi-Fi Rush 5 stars for educational value. As a work of art, Hi-Fi Rush manages to mix a variety of cartoon and comic book styles into a unique blend. The developers have opted for a cel-shaded style rather than a photorealistic one, and this works out for the most part. I would have preferred more visual detail in some places, but I think the cel shading works. Cutscenes and animations had a lot of flair, although some of the scenes felt a little clunky. The music is quite good, with a decent variety of well-selected songs. I did play with streamer mode on for obvious content creation reasons, and even as someone who doesn't listen to a lot of rock and roll, I found the music enjoyable and an integral part of the experience. Voice acting is a little goofy and over the top, but that fits in well with the overall style of the game.
Introducing
But the dialogue lacks in drama, it makes up with corniness, puns, and even some truly funny moments.
I believe I was using your sarcasm, the lowest form of wit, some may say.
Is that some sort of put down?
Indeed it is, Mr. Chai. Now please return to your couch and let us get back to it.
The one mode that Hi-Fi Rush doesn't excel in as a work of art is the narrative. While the setting is satisfactory, the plot is overly simplistic and the characterization fairly shallow. Honestly, the story was pretty disappointing in its brevity and lack of development. Even with a weak story, Hi-Fi Rush was generally successful, selling 3 million units in a brand new IP. Unfortunately, due to the studio closure, there is unlikely to be any sequels, although the flip side is that the closure itself made the game a little more notable. Overall, I'm going to assign 4 stars for the game's cultural value. There is almost no negative content in terms of sexual content, substance abuse, or vulgar language. There is violence, but given that the violence is cartoonish violence against mostly robots, the violence is about as clean as it gets. Sadly, there is not a lot of positive content either. The protagonist Chai is charming, but the idiot with the heart of gold character is not exactly the best role model.
When we jumped out the window, it's like you showed me how to be cool.
The game is generally appropriate for all ages.
Rated E for everyone.
The message and themes of the game are generally positive, but they are not particularly deep or well developed. For more analysis on the themes of the game, check out my biblical themes video for this game. Overall, I'm going to assign the game 3 stars for spiritual value. As far as cost is concerned, Hi-Fi Rush is pretty average. For the time poor, the main story can be completed in about 11 hours. For the time rich, there's additional replayability in the form of different modes, including a roguelike one. At the time of recording, Hi-Fi Rush retails for $29.99 USD and can be found on sale for about 40% off. While not exceptional value, it feels like a fair price. Overall, based on content value, narrative accessibility, and asking price, I'm going to give the game 3 stars for cost. While not quite innovative, Hi-Fi Rush certainly comes off as fresh and original. The balance of rhythm-based and beat-em-up gameplay, combined with its bold and risky artistic style, manages to deliver a unique experience, even if some aspects of the game feel unpolished. It's disappointing that Microsoft decided to close Tango even with the relative success of Hi-Fi Rush, because I think that this could have easily been a successful series, with a sequel able to polish a lot of the rougher edges of the game. Based on the criteria discussed in the video, I subjectively assign Hi-Fi Rush the rating of Sale Selection. That's all I have for you in this video.
See ya!
Bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video blessed you in some way, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, or sharing with me some of your thoughts in the comments below.